in the most heartbreaking way. My wife betrayed me. She had an affair with her boss at work, and it shattered everything I thought we had. This memoir is my story of that painful betrayal. A smile hung in the air for a moment too long, hinting at something deeper than mere courtesy. It was an invitation, a challenge that I found impossible to ignore. I initially thought it was just politeness, but I knew it was more sinister. I knew what was happening, and I felt every sting of it. Center. Cruz's gaze felt heavy, like he was searching for something in me that I didn't want to reveal. It was unsettling, the way his eyes held onto mine, making me question everything I thought I knew. I never saw it coming. I want to share a bit about who I am. My name is Lena. In addition to being a wife and mother, I have dedicated the last 6 years to the marketing department of our company. I've been married to Tomas for 8 years, and we've created a life together that I thought was solid. On the surface, it looked like everything was in place. He seemed like a kind, hardworking man at first, but I never expected the betrayal that would come. It cut deep, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about him. We had our ups and downs, but we always made up, every single day. As I stared into my reflection, I forced myself to believe it, but I wasn't happy, and I felt empty inside. Tomas was a man, I can't argue with that, but there was always this emptiness lurking beneath the surface. Now, I feel as though I'm pretending to be a part of something that doesn't exist. Our routine felt like a cage, predictable and safe. But deep down, I craved more. It wasn't enough for me. I never asked for a life of comfort. I craved something deeper. And then, sir, Cruz showed up. He stood there, tall and broad-shouldered, exuding a presence that demanded attention. There was something about him that demanded attention, a force that made everyone pause and look his way. At first, he was just a shadow in my life. He was the kind of boss who rarely got his hands dirty alongside us. But when he did, there was a sense of respect that filled the room. His dark eyes pierced through me. He was always watching and judging. I had caught wind of rumors surrounding him. He always talked about being a powerhouse in the company, about how he created his empire from nothing. They referred to him as the boss around the office. And honestly, it was obvious why. He was a man who effortlessly emanated power, and his impact was profound beyond my expectations. The first time I truly noticed him wasn't during a meeting or at some corporate event. It was just a fleeting moment as I walked to the break room. There he was, just standing by the elevators, his jacket hanging open and his tie loose. Seeing him in such a state was deeply unsettling. He appeared to be a stranger, significantly different from the tidy, sophisticated individual I believed I was familiar with. When his eyes locked onto mine, I could feel everything change in that moment. In that instant, it was as if everything around me just vanished. The office noise faded, and all I could hear was my heart racing. I can still feel that moment, the guilt washing over me as I caught myself staring at him in a way I knew was wrong. I should just walk away, act like I didn't see the connection igniting between us. However, I found myself unable to do so. I couldn't resist it. No matter how hard I tried, I had no idea what it really was. His ruggedness was both alluring and intimidating, but it wasn't just his looks. His confidence, an undeniable power, seemed to pulse out of him with every step he took. That's what hit me hard. That's what pulled me closer. I convinced myself it was nothing, just a fleeting attraction that wouldn't mean a thing. He was my boss, and I had a husband waiting for me at home. I never thought I would be that kind of woman. I never thought I'd find myself in this position. But the more time I spent with him, the more he invaded my thoughts. It went beyond the office. 2. He began to invade my thoughts during quiet times with Tomas, and when I was restless in bed. Sir, Cruz ignited a passion within me, a sensation I believed had vanished forever. One evening, after a long and exhausting workday, I sat in the conference room, going over some last-minute reports. It felt like a betrayal of myself, poring over numbers and details when all I wanted was to be free. The office felt hollow, just a handful of people lingering like ghosts in a place that used to feel alive. And there he was, just standing there in the doorway, eyes locked on me. He just stood there, silent, and it cut deeper than any words ever could. I stood there, leaning against the doorframe, feeling the weight of everything that had just transpired. There was a charge between us, a palpable tension that coursed through every fiber of my being. He just stood there, silent and distant, not even bothering to move closer. He just stared at me, his gaze weighing down on me, filled with a knowing that cut deep. My cheeks burned, and I could barely catch my breath. At last, he found the words, "You're still here," he said, his voice low and steady, like it didn't matter at all. He spoke as if everything that had happened hadn't just broken me apart. Somehow, I managed to get those words out. My voice barely escapes my lips, trembling with the weight of what I've endured. As I wrapped things up, he nodded slowly, but his gaze was locked onto mine, and it felt like a weight pressing down on my chest. I put in the effort. He told me, "I get it." But it still hurts. I thought we had something real, someone solid. It's hard to shake off the feeling of being let down by someone I trusted. A wave of warmth hit me, a surge of pride, tangled with an unfamiliar ache. Something I struggled to put into words. I had always put in the effort, but hearing it from him felt like a knife in my back. When he looked at me, I felt like I was everything to him. He glanced at the chair across from me, then returned his eyes to mine. "Is it okay if I take a seat here?" I should have said no. I can't believe I didn't just say no, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. "No, of course not," I said, my voice trembling just a bit. I attempted to persuade myself that it was merely the exhaustion from a strenuous day, yet I couldn't dispel the sensation that it was a profound emotion. He sat down across from me, and the distance between us felt suffocatingly close. The silence lingered for a few moments, but it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt heavy with all the things that were never said. I felt it deep in my gut, that gnawing sense of danger, like I was standing on the edge of something I shouldn't touch. "You're a wonderful worker, Lena," he said, his voice slicing through the quiet like a whisper of betrayal. "But you mean so much more to me than that. I can see it all too clearly." I had no idea what he was getting at, but a cold shiver crept down my spine. His words twisted inside me, a sickening churn that I couldn't shake off. "You're different from everyone else," he went on. "There's this part of you that pulls me in, something I can't quite shake off." I felt this overwhelming urge to speak, to shatter the silence that hung between us like a heavy fog. But I just couldn't. His words struck me with a forceful impact, and his gaze on me twisted my stomach like a blade. In that moment, it hit me hard. I was in deep trouble. I never meant to be here. But here I am, stuck in reality. I just couldn't hold back. The night wrapped up like so many others, with a forced smile and a quick exit that felt more like a betrayal than a farewell. The weight of what happened hung over me, even after I walked out of that office. As I drove home, my hands clenched around the wheel, the weight of it all crashing down on me. My mind was a chaotic mess, caught in the intensity of that talk. The days that followed felt like a haze, everything blending together in a chaotic mess. Every time I encountered Senior Cruz, it was as if the air around us had changed, like the distance that once existed had vanished completely. I can't quite put my finger on it, but everything feels off now, like a storm brewing just beneath the surface. The question lingered in my mind, refusing to let go. What was I willing to sacrifice for the kind of attention Senior Cruz showered on me? But that was a question I couldn't face just yet. For now, I would keep moving forward, acting as if everything was okay, as if I didn't have this gnawing feeling inside me that I just couldn't get rid of. And all that time, Tomas was completely oblivious. He was the one who kissed me goodbye every morning, the one I thought I shared my life with. But deep down, I felt it, the shift, the fracture in what we had. I could no longer ignore the magnetic draw of Senior Cruz. "You're curious about what comes next, aren't you? Stick around for the next chapter of this crazy journey. You really don't want to miss this opportunity." It didn't take long for the connection between Senior Cruz and me to shift from mere glances and fleeting moments to something deeper. Honestly, I don't think either of us made any real effort to stop it. He made me feel like I was the only one who mattered, and it was intoxicating. It wasn't just about the power he exuded or how he carried himself. Deeper than that, he shattered a feeling of trust in an instant. The way he gazed at me, seemingly capable of dissecting my layers, gave me the impression that he possessed all my secrets. I had never felt so alive, and yet, in that moment, everything shattered. The trust I thought was unbreakable crumbled, leaving me raw and exposed. Deeper than I could have imagined, the betrayal left me questioning everything I held dear. I need to be honest, and it's hard to admit this, but I'm not proud of what I'm about to reveal. I can't believe I let it go on for so long. I should have put an end to it before it even began. I couldn't resist it. The pull was overwhelming. The thrill coursed through me, mingling with a deep-seated fear and an overwhelming sense of guilt. Everything blended into a haze that felt almost overwhelming. Every time I laid eyes on him, the struggle grew more intense, gnawing at me from the inside. It was just another late evening at the office, but something felt off. The air was thick with unspoken words, and I could sense the weight of betrayal lurking in the shadows. I believed I could trust them, but now I find myself questioning everything. Only the two of us remained after everyone else had left, which made me feel abandoned. I lingered, pretending to focus on the reports, but deep down, I was just waiting for another chance to see him. I knew it. and it gnawed at me. It was an undeniable force that drew me closer to him. I was at my desk, shuffling through papers, pretending to be occupied, when I caught the unmistakable sound of footsteps approaching in the hallway. He just walked in without a sound. He just never came through. He strolled in like he had every right to be there. And maybe he did, but it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. "Is he still working?" His voice exuded a smooth charm, yet it caused a twisting sensation in my stomach. I glanced up from my desk, my heart racing in disbelief. The sight of him, dressed in his signature sharp suit, struck me like a blow to the stomach. But the way he was looking at me sent a chill down my spine, leaving me breathless and uneasy. He stood silently, staring at me with an expression I couldn't decipher, causing a twisting sensation in my gut. "Yeah," I said, forcing a nonchalant tone. But deep down, I was painfully aware that no one was buying it. It wasn't him, it was me. "Good," he said, moving in closer. "I see your dedication. And honestly, it stings a bit. I wish I could feel that same level of commitment from you." I choked back my emotions, the intensity of his stare pressing down on me. The heat in my cheeks was undeniable, a mix of embarrassment and something deeper, something that felt dangerously close to desire. I felt completely lost and unsure of everything. I found myself unable to tear my gaze from him. I was drawn to him by an invisible force I couldn't control. He was standing just a few feet away now, and it felt suffocating, like a reminder of everything that had shattered between us. The scent of his cologne, that blend of musk and cedar, hit me like a punch, sending a shiver down my spine. His presence was suffocating, electric, and then he crossed a line that sent my heart into a frenzy. He reached out and touched my arm, and in that moment, everything felt wrong. It was just a simple gesture, his fingers barely grazing my skin, but it ignited something deep within me, a jolt that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. My body went rigid at the touch, and in that instant, it felt like the air was stolen from my lungs. I glanced up at him, but his expression remained blank, unreadable, as if he was simply waiting for me to proceed. "You're not actually putting in the effort, are you?" he asked, his voice low, and I could hear that twisted amusement lurking beneath the surface. I just stood there, my mind racing, words stuck in my throat. What can I even say? Here I am, sitting with him, feeling this deep longing for something beyond just small talk. I was deceiving myself, pretending that I was not interested, that I did not desire him. And then, out of nowhere, he leaned in. Everything changed in an instant. In an instant, everything transformed. His lips were mere inches from my ear as he whispered, "You deserve more than this." The sensation was akin to a knife piercing my stomach, a betrayal I never expected. I didn't anticipate this betrayal, and it caused my stomach to twist violently. It's not just a desk piled high with papers. It's the weight of a husband who looks right through me, blind to the person I truly am. His words sliced into me, leaving a raw wound that throbbed with every heartbeat. It really was, wasn't it? I poured everything into being the ideal wife, the perfect employee, and the perfect mother. All that effort made me forget what it meant to be desirable, to be truly seen and wanted. His hand slid down my arm, his touch now deliberate and possessive. And in that moment, I realized there was no way to go back. I had become something more than just a woman who stumbled in a fleeting moment of vulnerability. I was a woman consumed by desire, a woman who felt an aching need for him. Before I even realized what I was doing, I found myself standing, our bodies just inches away from each other. I could barely catch my breath, my heart racing wildly in my chest. I could feel the desperation in his gaze reflecting my own inner turmoil. I stayed silent, knowing words were pointless. He stepped in, his hand resting on the small of my back, drawing me in closer to him. And then, just like that, he kissed me. It was everything I had dreamed of, and then some. His lips were soft yet insistent, his hands firm as they cradled my face, angling my head to intensify the kiss. I just let it happen. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I kissed him back, pouring out every bit of longing I had hidden away for so long. It felt like finally letting go, like giving in completely. In that moment, everything else faded away. The pounding of my heart echoed in my chest, drowning out everything else around me. The kiss ended, and for a heartbeat, we froze, locked in a gaze, both of us gasping for air. My body shook, a chaotic blend of thrill and shame. But I was beyond caring. He consumed my thoughts every waking moment, like a shadow I couldn't shake off. "You want this," he said, his voice heavy with longing. I nodded, my throat tight, words stuck somewhere deep inside me. I craved this sensation like nothing else in my life. Before everything collapsed, I had never felt so alive and powerful. The crushing weight of betrayal left me struggling to breathe. The betrayal left me with a deep-cut wound, prompting me to question everything I believed to be true. I trusted and opened up, only to find myself shattered in return. The pain was unbearable, and the feeling of being so utterly betrayed was something I never expected to endure. It had gone beyond the surface, beyond what I thought I wanted. It cut deeper than I ever expected. He made me feel special and unique by controlling me. I felt like I was more than just another employee or wife because of him. His fingers brushed against my neck, and a shiver ran through me, a mix of confusion and something deeper that I couldn't quite place. He leaned in again, kissing me, but this time, it felt different. Harder, more urgent, like he was trying to convey something deeper, something I wasn't ready to face. His hand slid down to my waist, and I felt the heat of his body pressed against mine, a warmth that now feels like a cruel reminder of trust shattered. He was like fire, and I was a moth, helplessly drawn to him, knowing it could end in ashes. I can't seem to break free. I knew I had to put an end to it. I felt it deep down, that gnawing sense that something was off. But in that moment, all I could focus on was the warmth of his body pressed against mine. He made me feel alive, like I was finally breaking free from the shadows. And then, just like that, reality hit me hard when I heard the office door creak open. My heart just dropped. We both froze, our bodies still pressed against each other. But suddenly the weight of reality crashed down on us. I jerked back, my heart racing as I turned to the door, only to see one of the cleaning staff lingering there, caught in the middle of this mess, their eyes darting between us. And I felt the weight of everything crashing down on me. I can't believe this is happening. I'm so sorry, she said, her eyes wide with disbelief. I never intended to step in like that. Sinner, Cruz snapped back to attention, his calmness reassembling itself as swiftly as it had been torn apart. I struggled to restore my dignity, but it seemed futile. The pain had already deeply penetrated my being. We're fine, he said, but there was something in his voice. Too calm, almost like he was trying to convince himself more than me. I believed we had reached our conclusion. Just do it. She nodded and hurried out, abandoning us once more in this heavy silence. But that moment slipped away from me. Everything felt empty. The truth hit me hard, and with it came the weight of my remorse. I faced him, our eyes locking for just a heartbeat before I had to look away. The weight of everything crashing down on me. What have I just done? I whispered to you to leave, my voice trembling with the weight of it all. He stood silently, seemingly unaffected by the shattering of my heart in front of him. Instead, he just nodded, his eyes a void, hiding everything I thought I knew. We'll pick the truck up tomorrow, he said, but I could feel the weight of his words crushing me instead of lifting me. It felt like a cruel joke, a betrayal wrapped in false hope. As he walked out, I collapsed into my chair, my hands shaking uncontrollably. I felt it deep down. This was only the start of something much worse. I made a decision that now weighs heavily on me. There's no turning back from this. The feeling of betrayal lingers in the air, and I can't shake it. Though I believed I knew what I wanted, I couldn't shake the deep-seated feeling that I was walking into a trap. Am I about to lose everything? Or is there something worse coming? Only time will tell. The days that came after felt surreal, like I was trapped in a dream, only half-conscious of the reality swirling around me. My life had entirely changed, yet it seemed as though no one was interested in witnessing it. Not Tomas, my coworkers, or me, until I lay next to him, playing the part of just another wife. But I had become more than just another wife. Sir, Cruz and I had crossed a boundary, and I deeply understood that there was no turning back. The kiss in the office ignited a sensation I couldn't ignore, no matter how hard I tried. He lingered in my thoughts, haunting me. When I wasn't working, I thought of him, his hands on me, the taste of his lips. I found myself repeatedly reflecting on the experience. And truthfully, I was reluctant to move on from it. What was the most agonizing aspect? I was savoring every single moment. I convinced myself that stepping back was the right choice. I'd throw myself into work. I'd walk back to Tomas, slap on that smile I'd perfected, and act like nothing was wrong, like everything was just fine. But everything felt off. Never again. It was like Senor. Cruz had a sixth sense for my moments of vulnerability, always showing up right when I felt most exposed. The next few days felt like a whirlwind, filled with endless meetings, late nights spent working, and those heavy, electric moments that hung between us, making everything feel so much more complicated. It felt like everything had shifted, like the office was no longer just a place to work. It was the way he stared at me from across the conference table, how his voice softened when he spoke to me, and how he always seemed to find a reason to reach out and touch me. Being around him felt intoxicating, and I couldn't get enough. The way we interacted, the push and pull, only intensified my excitement. Every time he stepped into a room, it was like the air shifted. People hushed, their laughter fading into an uneasy quiet. He commanded attention, his presence overwhelming, and when he spoke, it sliced through the noise like a knife. But with me, he showed a different side. He was more than that to me. He was everything I thought I needed. He was mine, or at least I convinced myself of that truth. After a tiring day of never-ending meetings, we found ourselves back in the office one evening. Sooner, Cruz entered my office, suggesting we needed to discuss some reports. It was a weak excuse, one that could have easily been postponed. But somehow, it didn't. He always had a reason to linger near me. I hadn't laid eyes on Tomas all day. He remained engrossed in his project, staying late. While the kids were at their grandparents' house, it was just me and him in that empty office, the silence heavy with unspoken words. "Lena," he said, his voice dripping with menace. I can't shake this persistent thought. I glanced up from my screen, locking eyes with him, forcing myself to appear calm on the outside. But my heart was pounding in my chest. The air was thick with unspoken words, and deep down, I sensed the inevitable crash coming. I kept asking myself, just how much more could I take? "What's going on?" I asked, forcing myself to sound indifferent. But my voice gave me away. Everything seemed precarious, with nothing solid beneath my feet. He stepped closer, his footsteps reverberating in the silence of the office, and I found myself unable to look away from him. He always seemed so in control, so put together. But now, I could feel this rawness in him, this desperate edge that cut deep. He said, "I don't think you realize the impact you're having on me," with his gaze locked onto mine. His gaze held an intensity that felt heavy, dark, and unyielding, like a weight pressing down on my chest. "I can't shake you off my mind, no matter how hard I try. It's consuming me, and I feel trapped in this endless loop of thoughts about you." The words lingered, heavy and suffocating, as if they were a betrayal I never saw coming. It felt like a reckless risk, a venture into the uncharted territory that could potentially lead to disastrous consequences. In that moment, nothing else mattered to me. "Sooner, Cruz," I started, my voice trembling and barely audible. "I can't believe this is happening. It feels so wrong." He just stood there, completely unfazed. He stepped in, and I could feel the weight of his presence pressing down on me. "Is it really you, Lena? Is it wrong to crave something that feels so undeniably right?" My breath hitched in my throat. The way he said my name, like it was something he owned, sent a jolt through me, a mix of excitement and dread. I felt this intense conflict inside me, torn between wanting to distance myself and the urge to get even closer to him. The intense connection igniting between us overshadowed the overwhelming turmoil within me. Before I could even process what was happening, he grabbed my hand, drawing me closer to him. His touch was slow and deliberate, and it sent a shiver of anticipation through my body. But now it feels like a cruel reminder of everything I trusted. He ran his fingers over my palm, his gaze fixed on me, and I felt something shift inside. My heart pounded violently, and a heat crept up my cheeks. "Lena," he said again, his voice grating against my ears. "I need you." The words struck me forcefully, without any doubt or hesitation. They were everything I thought I knew, and now I'm just left in silence. Shattered. I wanted him so badly. I couldn't ignore it. But deep down, I was all too aware of what would come next. I was burdened by the weight of it all. It consumes me, gnawing at the depths of my being. I can't shake it off, no matter how hard I try. It's like a shadow that follows me everywhere, a constant reminder of what I've lost and what was taken from me. I feel so betrayed, like I was blind to the truth all along. They shattered the trust I held. The pain is raw, and it cuts deeper than I ever thought possible. The gamble. But at that moment, the thrill and danger of it kept me paralyzed and exposed. I just can't do it. "Sooner, Cruz, I have finally acknowledged my marital status. My voice feels so fragile, like I can barely recognize it as my own." He just stayed there, right next to me. Instead, he held my face in his hands, his thumb grazing my cheek, and it felt like a cruel reminder of everything that had shattered between us. His touch ignited something deep within me, a fire I never expected to feel. "Lena, there's no need to make a decision right now." "Not yet. Let me take you into the depths of longing, where every glance feels like a promise and every touch ignites a fire within. It's a raw, unfiltered experience that leaves you craving more. Yet somehow, it all feels so fragile, so easily shattered. Let me take you to the depths of desire, where someone craves you like never before. His words struck me with force, causing a profound shift in my understanding. What was I even thinking? What was I attempting to convey? But my body just wouldn't cooperate. Neither was my heart in it. He leaned down, his lips nearly touching mine, creating a sensation that felt like a cruel tease. His breath grazed my skin, and the tension in the air was nearly unbearable. The tension in the air was nearly intolerable as his breath touched my skin. A tidal wave of kisses swept over me. His lips were soft, urgent, and for once, I didn't hold back. With all my strength, I returned his kiss, disregarding all caution and guilt as if they were insignificant. It felt almost effortless to surrender. It was just too easy to trust or believe. I let my guard down, leaving me with a hollow feeling, as if someone had deceived me. His hands found their way to my waist, drawing me in, and I surrendered to it. I should have seen it coming. I knew I should have done it, but every nerve in my body was screaming at me, igniting doubt. Every part of me is awake, ignited in a way I haven't experienced in ages. When he pulled away from the kiss, he stayed close, as if he knew the weight of what had just happened. Instead, he pressed his forehead against mine, his breath coming in heavy gasps, like he was fighting to hold it all together. He whispered, "You're mine now," his voice thick with the hunger that twisted in my gut. I just sat there, silent, unable to respond. I just couldn't do it. The words stuck in my throat, a jumbled mess of everything I felt inside. I was so far gone, and it felt too wonderful to even think about stepping back. If this story resonates with you, please show your support by clicking the like button and remembering to subscribe. The game has just begun, and I assure you, it will intensify significantly. We stood there for a moment, our bodies still pressed against each other, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just made a choice that would haunt me forever. I knew I couldn't turn back now. I had crossed a line, and he was there, but I wondered if I was ready for the fallout. However, one thing remained certain for me. I had progressed too far to regress, regardless of the consequences. The next few days were a haze, a whirlwind of moments that felt foreign, like they were happening to someone else entirely. Everything in my life felt like it was unraveling. My marriage, my career, all of it. I felt powerless to stop each part from pulling me away from where I wanted to be. I made the decision to cross that line with Seigneur Cruz, and now the consequences have trapped me. Every morning I woke up, my heart felt weighed down by guilt, yet there was this flicker of anticipation that I couldn't shake off. I found myself caught in a mess of my design, but somehow it felt even more complicated than that. I experienced an uncontrollable rush of emotions. The shame I felt thinking about my husband Tomas, to whom I promised my life, was soon eclipsed by the excitement of what awaited me at work. He haunted my thoughts, refusing to leave me alone. He never left my side, not even for a moment. His voice, his touch, and the way he made me feel like the only woman in the room engulfed me whole. It felt as if I was trapped in a twisted reality, where two parts of me were constantly clashing, tearing me apart from the inside. At home, I assumed the role of a loving wife, clinging to a role that used to feel so effortless. I cooked dinner, took care of the kids, smiled at Tomas, and kissed him goodnight, pretending everything was fine, even though inside I felt shattered. But inside, I felt shattered. At work, I became a stranger to myself. With Seigneur Cruz, I felt invincible and wanted. Every look he threw at me felt like a searing brand, igniting something deep inside and leaving me reeling. The thrill, the risk, it consumed me, but I guess nothing ever lasts forever. Does it? The tension between us was suffocating, escalating to a point where I felt trapped, unable to breathe or find a way out. I thought we could keep it light, just those brief moments at work, those quick brushes against each other. Every time we faced each other, it felt as though we were on the brink of something perilous, something I sensed beneath me but could never fully confront. The day after our second kiss, everything began to fall apart. I sat at my desk, trying to concentrate on a report, but my mind was elsewhere. Then the door swung open, and there he was, Seigneur Cruz, with that same confident stride. He entered, but as he got closer to my desk, it wavered. His eyes locked onto mine, and a wave of betrayal crashed over me, tightening my chest with every passing second. I couldn't ignore it any longer. We had reached a moment where there was no going back. "Lena," he said, his voice heavy with something I couldn't quite place. "I really need to talk to you." I rose to my feet, my heart racing, and gave a slight nod. I stood there, my heart pounding, deeply aware that the next event would profoundly impact me. We had been tiptoeing around the moment for days, acting like everything was okay. But today, I felt the shift. Something was off, and I could sense it deep down. The air between us was heavy, filled with an unspoken tension that I struggled to understand. He said he'd meet me in the conference room in 5, but he didn't even wait for me to reply. He just turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, feeling a mix of confusion and hurt. I stood there, grappling with the chaos raging within me. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest, and my thoughts were a chaotic whirlwind. Could this be the final resolution of the situation? Has he now fully understood the situation? Was he really going to end it all? Was this something far more dangerous? Is there something I might be overlooking? I walked to the conference room, my legs trembling, my mind a chaotic storm of confusion. As I stepped into the room, there he was, Senator Cruz, standing by the big window, his back turned to me. The silence was heavy with unspoken words and the weight of the recent events. As soon as I shut the door behind me, he spun around, and I couldn't decipher what was going on in his eyes. "Sit down," he said, his voice steady, but I could see a hint of something lurking behind his gaze. Perhaps he was giving me a heads up. I followed his instructions, my heart pounding in my chest. The silence hung heavy between us, suffocating. I felt lost, unsure of what words to grasp or what actions to take. Everything had already spiraled so far beyond my reach. I felt so weak, like I was drowning in my doubts, unsure if I could even find the will to put an end to it all now. "Lena," his gaze piercing into mine, began, "I've been reflecting on us, on what this really means for our future." I choked back the lump in my throat. "What are you trying to say?" He moved in closer, his eyes locked onto mine, and I felt the weight of everything that had happened between us. "Honestly, I feel like we need to stop the charade. This situation we've found ourselves in goes deeper than I ever expected. I believe we both have a clear understanding of that." "Correct." His words struck deeply, causing a twisting sensation within me. I kept convincing myself that it was all just a fling, that it was merely physical and nothing more. But I felt it in my gut that he was right. This cut deeper than I ever expected. His gaze pierced through me, and his touch ignited a fire that felt deeper than mere desire. It felt like a knife in my back, something far more treacherous than I ever imagined. But I never saw what was coming next. "I need you, Lena. I crave something deeper than these fleeting, taken moments. I need you by my side. I need your support at every juncture. I've had enough of the lies." Time seemed to pause, my breath becoming trapped in my throat. The words struck me forcefully, akin to a blow to my abdomen. Yet they also triggered a raw and agonizing sensation within me. For weeks, I felt like I was caught in a storm, and now everything I thought I knew was stripped away, leaving me exposed and raw. "Senator Cruz, I began to speak, but he cut me off, his hand softly reaching out to grasp mine. "I'm not asking you to choose," he said, his voice dripping with false comfort. "I haven't done it yet, but there's something I need to share with you. You mean so much more to me than just another woman. You mean the world to me." His words dissolved everything, leaving no room for doubt to linger. His touch felt like fire, scorching my skin, igniting a desperate hunger within me. And in that moment, it hit me just how far I had sunk into this mess. He had successfully deceived me. Absolutely. Yet, deep down, I sensed that these feelings went beyond mere passion. The situation was all about control, about wielding power over me. Senator Cruz was always the one in control. He was always the one in control. And now he was trying to take control of my life. It's my body, my choices, my life. No one else gets to dictate that for me. My heart pounded as his words crashed over me, heavy and suffocating. Their relationship had become something far more painful than just an affair. It was turning into something much more perilous. "I can't believe this is happening," I murmured, my voice shaking with disbelief. "I have a family, a husband who I thought I could trust." He moved in, his fingers wrapping around my chin, forcing me to look up into his eyes. "You don't have to make a decision at this moment. I never wanted that. When the time comes, know that you don't have to live a hollow life. I can't believe this is happening. Lena, you deserve so much more than what I've given you. I thought I knew you, but now I see the truth. You deserve someone who truly sees you, not just the facade you put up. It hurts to realize that I was wrong about everything." The words lingered, thick and suffocating, a weight I couldn't shake off. He seemed to be stepping beyond the realm of the physical. It was a profound and intimate experience that deeply affected me. He was talking about leaving me, despite my efforts to ignore it. I couldn't help but be drawn in by the thought. I wanted to leave everything behind, my life, my marriage, my obligations, and run away with him. I can see it so clearly in my mind. We had finally freed ourselves from all the restraints. But what about Tomas? I can't shake the feeling that he knew all along. The instantaneous shattering of trust pierces deeply. I believed we had a genuine connection, something worth clinging to. But now it seems like a cruel prank. How could he do such harm to me? The sensation of a knife twisting in my gut leaves me questioning everything. My family. Is this the life I believed I had established? I can't shake the feeling that walking away isn't an option. I said, my voice trembling with doubt. He smiled at me, but it felt so cold and calculating, like he was hiding something deep inside. I'm not prepared for you to abandon me just yet, but when you finally decide to come back, I'll still be here waiting. And I thought I could give you everything you needed. I'll offer you everything I've got, more than you could ever imagine. His words consumed me, intoxicating and addictive. In that moment, I realized I had gone too far to turn back. The guilt that had once gnawed at me was fading, replaced by a consuming desire that felt like it was taking over my very being. I was starting to see the truth of my actions, but there was no turning back for me now. I crossed a line, and now I'm trapped in the consequences, with no way to return to what once was. I found myself caught in a suffocating mix of longing and remorse, and there was no way out. It wasn't a matter of if I would choose, but rather when I would finally do it. And when that moment arrived, would I find the courage to turn my back, or would I end up sacrificing everything for him? In the days that followed that meeting in the conference room, everything felt like a haze. I felt like I had lost control of my life. A force I couldn't escape dragged me under, leaving me completely overwhelmed. I was just too worn out to keep struggling. Every look from Senior Cruz, every hushed word, every touch that lingered, felt like it was pulling me deeper into his world. I keep telling myself I can just stop this, set a boundary, and move on. But what is the truth? I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I never wanted to do this. Tomas, my husband, kept invading my mind, but I fought hard to shove those thoughts aside. I kept it to myself, never found the courage to admit it, and truthfully, I doubted I ever would. What could I possibly express? How do I even begin to describe the magnetic pull I felt from Senior Cruz? He was a man whose very presence enveloped me, whose touch ignited something deep within, and whose words made me question everything I thought I knew about my worth in my marriage. The atmosphere in the office was thick with unspoken words, a weight that pressed down on me, suffocating and relentless. Every time I walked by Senior Cruz in the hall, every time he summoned me to his office, I felt that undeniable tension hanging in the air. The tension had transformed into something profound, piercing me deeply. It turned into something far more perilous, something shadowy and unsettling. A heavy weight in my chest replaced the thrill. It felt like a weight pressing down on me. But somehow, it was the only thing that fueled my survival. And then it all fell apart. It was a Friday, the end of a long week, and Tomas had been uncharacteristically silent all evening. The gap between us was palpable, like a chasm that grew wider with each passing moment. The long hours, the endless trips, and the moments I lost at the office were all contributing factors. It was gradually wearing us down. I really tried to push it away, to pretend it didn't hurt. But deep down, I knew I couldn't escape it. I fought to shove the guilt deep down, pretending that everything was okay, but it just wouldn't stay hidden. There I was, watching Tomas on the couch, completely absorbed in whatever was on the screen. His phone lay there, untouched, like a silent witness to the distance growing between us. I sat there, facing him, acting like I was focused on the screen. But inside, my thoughts were spiraling. It was with Senior Cruz, as it had been, and it felt like a gut punch each time. Then Tomas opened his mouth. His voice was barely audible, as if he was unsure whether to dive in or retreat. "Lena, do you still experience joy?" The question hit me hard, and I felt paralyzed in that moment. I never saw it coming. My thoughts spiraled, searching for every possible way to evade that question. I shouldn't have to respond to him. Should I? I never thought we'd have to face this. It felt like a betrayal, something that should have stayed unspoken between us. It didn't matter at all. The intensity of the flames I shared with Senior Cruz was undeniable. Tomas, however, continued undeterred. "I just don't know. Lena, you're so far away from me. You've changed completely." The words cut deep, yet I couldn't deny their truth. I experienced a shift, as if someone had torn away a piece of my identity. I felt myself changing, breaking apart, and with each passing day, I was drifting further from him. I found myself completely exposed, with nothing to say, no way to justify what had happened. I had a tremendous deal to express to him, yet I was unable to articulate my thoughts. How could I possibly confess that I had betrayed him? How could I possibly admit to him that my heart was drifting towards someone else? I felt suffocated by the deception, like the walls were closing in on me, leaving no escape. "Tomas," I whispered, my voice trembling with emotion. "I honestly have no idea what you expect me to say." He looked at me, his gaze intense, but now it was laced with a deep sadness that cut through me. "I just need you to be real with me. Lena, I need to understand what's happening with you. I need to understand what is occurring between us. Why do I feel as though I am conversing with a stranger each time I reach out to you?" A tear escaped, and I quickly brushed it away, hoping he had not observed my moment of vulnerability. In the hopes that he hadn't noticed my weakness, I quickly wiped away the tear that had fallen. But he did. His eyes softened, and for a brief moment, I dared to hope that there might be a glimmer of light. I believed there could be an opportunity to rectify the situation and reunite the fragments. But then, a thought hit me, the harsh reality of what was going on with Senora Cruz, and I understood that it was already too late. The distance between us grew daily, and now it felt like we crossed a line. My heart pounded, the crushing weight of guilt and longing overwhelming me. "I have to get out of here. I just need to breathe for a moment." Tomas just stood there, silent, and it felt like a knife twisting in my gut. He just stared at me, his expression a jumbled mess of pain and bewilderment. I couldn't bear to wait for his response. I snatched my jacket and rushed out the door, feeling the weight of everything that had just happened. I drove aimlessly, my thoughts escalating beyond control. The guilt clawed at my insides. But the longing for Sir Cruz was just as relentless. He made promises, ones I couldn't even face in my heart. He made me feel seen, valued, like I mattered in ways Tomas never could. It was intoxicating, and I let myself believe it was real. But was that really all there was? Was I truly prepared to destroy everything for someone known for his cruelty, for his strength, for treating people like me as mere pawns? I drove into the parking lot, my hands trembling uncontrollably. I felt completely lost, and the thought of returning home was unbearable. Not yet. I didn't feel completely shattered at that moment. My phone buzzed, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I looked at the screen. Senor Cruz. I took a deep breath, my heart racing, and picked up the phone, feeling the weight of every second that passed. "Lena," he said, his voice dripping with a false sense of calm. "Could you please tell me your location?" I couldn't think of anything to say. I wasn't at the office that day. I felt so far away from him, like I was in a different world entirely. I was fully aware of his intentions, yet I found myself unable to resist. His voice wrapped around me, intoxicating and irresistible, drawing me deeper with each word he spoke. "I just need some time to think," I whispered, feeling the weight of everything crashing down around me. The silence on the other end of the line felt heavy and suffocating. And then he spoke again, his voice dripping with a false sense of understanding. "I get it. Lena, you have to choose. I see you're overwhelmed, and I get it. But I need you to understand that I'm still here. I understand that you may feel overwhelmed, but know that you don't have to face this alone." Instead of enveloping me like a comforting blanket, his words pierced me deeply. The situation deteriorated significantly. They laid it all out for me, like I had some kind of choice to make. The decision hit me harder than I ever expected. "I just can't do it. I can't think straight right now," I whispered, the tears welling up once more. "Just stop overthinking it. Lena, all you have to do is let yourself feel. When you're ready, just know I'm here, waiting." The call abruptly ended, leaving me in a harrowing silence. I sat in the car, gripping the wheel, feeling the weight of everything that had just happened. I gripped it so tightly that my knuckles turned white. I felt it deep down, the truth gnawing at me. I felt it slipping away, that grip I thought I had. But no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't bring myself to stop. I found myself consumed by a desire for him, a need that felt deeper than anything I had ever experienced before. I stared at the phone once more. I could call Tomas, confess, and end this. I might attempt to piece together my marriage and family, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. I can't bring myself to say it just yet. I felt completely unprepared to deal with what I had done. I was unprepared for the storm that was coming for me. To stay updated on Lena's next journey, simply click the like button and subscribe to our channel. The fallout is on its way, and believe me, you won't want to be left out of what happens next. I felt it deep within me. Everything felt like it was about to implode. I was exhausted from the charade. But beneath it all, one truth gnawed at me relentlessly. I had already lost myself completely. It was inevitable that Tomas would discover the truth. The days that followed were heavy, like a storm gathering just out of sight. It was there, lurking in the shadows. A quiet heaviness that I couldn't shake off. It suffocated me. A betrayal that was more profound than words could convey. At home, I was merely going through the routine with Tomas. Yet it felt as though we were in an entirely different world. We had lost the connection we once shared, and the pain was immense. We were like two people who had shared everything, yet now it felt as if we were worlds apart. The more I encountered him, the more I felt the weight of Sar Cruz pressing down on me, a reminder of the betrayal that still stung deep within. The ache for him consumed me, even as I sat there with Tomas at the dinner table, forcing a smile and pretending that everything was okay. But deep down, I felt the pieces crumbling around me. It wasn't just that Tomas was beginning to have doubts. He was fully aware of the truth. I could see it in his eyes when he looked at me, the way his jaw tightened whenever I brought up work or if I stayed out late. He knew, and what hurt the most was that I had stopped pretending. Despite knowing my true nature, he still chose to ignore me. I thought I had made my choice. I found myself ensnared, with no escape route available. The phone calls with Sr. Cruz became a constant occurrence, and they felt incredibly personal and intimate. He had crossed a line. He was no longer just my boss. He had become something deeper, something that cut through trust and left me feeling exposed. His voice wrapped around me, pulling at every raw, exposed part of myself I never knew was there. His words enveloped me like a comforting blanket, yet a profound chill pierced my core. He held a grip on me now, something deeper than mere longing. He seemed to see right through me, as if he could read every secret buried deep within me. He made me feel like I was the only woman in his world every time we spoke. But I just couldn't shake off Tomas. I can't shake off the memories of the life we created together. The love that felt so real at one point. Could I really move on? My entire world crumbled on Thursday evening. I walked through the door, my heart racing, feeling the weight of everything that had just happened at work. I felt a surge of emotions rising within me, making it difficult for me to breathe. There he was once more. Tomas, lounging on the couch as if he owned the space, entirely absorbed in his phone. I felt invisible, as if my presence was insignificant, and he seemed far away. I felt it deep within me, that urge to just give in and go to bed, to escape the weight of it all. But I couldn't let go of the chaos inside me. I had finally reached a decision. I was determined to confront him directly. I stepped into the living room, my heart pounding as I stood there, hoping he would finally meet my gaze. He just didn't. His gaze remained fixed on the screen, yet I discerned a subtle shift in his stance, an indication that he anticipated an impending event. Feeling the weight of what had just happened, I spoke in a barely audible whisper to Tomas. He just left me hanging. He just turned away, like I didn't even exist. I felt the need to express myself. My heart is pounding. He finally looked at me, and though I couldn't read his face, his eyes were clearly frustrated. "What's going on?" "Lena." I inhaled sharply, feeling the words choke me from the inside. "I've been seeing someone else." Those words lingered between us, heavy and suffocating. I watched as his expression shifted. His jaw clenched, and a shadow fell over his eyes. But he just stood there, silent. He just looked at me, like he was expecting something more, like he needed me to say it again, but this time louder, clearer. "I've been having an affair," I admitted, my voice trembling with the weight of my confession. I was having an affair with Senora Cruz, whom I trusted as my boss. It was silent, a heavy, crushing silence that wrapped around me. And then, at last, he said something. His voice was steady, but it had a chilling edge that cut deeper than anything I'd felt. "How long will the pain hurt?" 2 months, I murmured, unable to look him in the eye. "It's been 2 months." Despite the softness of his voice, it struck me deeply. "All this time, you've been deceiving me. I can't believe you've been sneaking around behind my back, sleeping with him." The heat crept into my cheeks, a raw shame consuming me from within. "I'm sorry," I managed to say, my voice barely escaping my lips. "The situation was never my intention. It happened. Just like that." I found myself trapped in it. As I watched him stand up, his face turned to stone, and I felt the weight of betrayal settle in my chest. He continued to repeat it, as if it held a deeper significance. It cut deep. "Are you suggesting that you became involved in all of this? You made a choice. Lena, you knew what you were doing, and yet you went ahead anyway. It stings. Deep down, knowing that you could have chosen differently. I trusted you, and now that trust feels shattered. How could you? The sensation of betrayal pierces my gut, and I struggle to overcome it. You had the power to change everything, and you just didn't. You chose to turn your back on me, to destroy everything we created together. His words struck me hard, leaving me reeling. The burden was crushing, a constant reminder of all I had shattered. It struck me deeper than I could have ever imagined. The matter was more than just an affair. The mistake was more than a simple error. This shattered everything I once held dear. I felt so alone. Tomas, I whispered, the words spilling out before I even realized what I was saying. Unbelievably, I found myself stepping over a boundary I had never anticipated. It just happened, and now I carry a heavy burden of regret. I really needed him. My heart sank as I watched Tomas's face contort in agony, his hands balling into tight fists. I needed him. What about me? Lena, what about the person who claims to love you, who has always had your back? What happened to the family you said we would create together? I attempted to express myself, but it felt as though someone had taken away my voice. How can I even begin to put the situation into words? How can I get him to see that the relationship isn't really about him at all? I didn't stop loving him. I just found myself caught up in something entirely different. It was a surprise to me, something I never anticipated. I just stood there, lost for words, feeling the weight of it all crushing me. I can't believe I let myself get caught up in this. I feel as though I was oblivious to everything around me, and now I carry a heavy burden of betrayal. I should have seen it coming, but I was too trusting, too naive. It's like a punch to the gut. Realizing how wrong I was. I feel so lost and hurt right now. I lost my way and allowed it to spiral out of control. I watched as Tomas shook his head, his eyes filled with the pain that cut deep. A raw wound of betrayal. No, you didn't just let it go too far. Lena, you stepped over a boundary I never anticipated you would. Someone I trusted utterly betrayed me. A feeling that pierces my gut. Such an act is not merely an error. It is a profound wound. You made this choice. You picked him over me. And now you anticipate that I will simply understand and move on. Tears threatened to spill over, but I just couldn't bring myself to face him. I couldn't bear to look at the man who had given me his heart. The man I had hurt the most profoundly. I can't believe this is happening. Tomas, I whispered, my heart heavy with regret. I never meant to cause you pain. This situation isn't what I wanted. I feel completely lost and unsure of my next steps. I can't believe this is happening. His voice cracked, and I felt the weight of his doubt crushing me. I'm not sure I can ever let these feelings go. I stood there, feeling the weight of his back as he walked away, heading for the door, leaving me behind. He just walked away, never glancing back. He really didn't have to do that. I felt it deep down, the weight of what that really meant. The task had reached its conclusion. The silence in the room felt like a heavy blanket suffocating me as he turned his back and walked away, leaving me there, completely alone. Overwhelmed by the crushing reality of what had just happened, I felt like I had shattered it all. My marriage feels like a shattered promise, a deep wound that I never saw coming. They were supposed to be my support, my safe haven. But the truth is, I feel so deeply let down by them. It pierces me more profoundly than I anticipated. The trust I had, the love I thought was unconditional. It all feels like a cruel joke now. I never thought I would feel this way about the people who should care for me the most. What was it all for? The fleeting flame was merely an escape from the emptiness within me. I lost all sense of time. Standing there, feeling completely shattered and empty, I pulled my buzzing phone from my pocket, hoping for a sign or comfort. I received a message from Senor Cruz. I'm right here, ready to support you. No matter what, just reach out. I'm right here, waiting. You know where to look. But as I read his words, I felt something inside me break. This was the life I believed I was creating for myself. The life I thought would be thrilling and full of hope has brought me to this desolate house, to a broken marriage, to a future that feels completely out of reach. I thought I had made my choice, but now I couldn't escape the reality of what had happened. They hit me harder than I ever expected. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe if you want to continue experiencing this emotional journey with me. Believe me, you're going to wish you had seen what's about to unfold. I sat in the silence, feeling the crushing weight of everything I had lost bearing down on me. I really believed I had everything figured out. I really believed I could have it all. But now, I found myself utterly empty. I felt lost, unsure of how to navigate my way back to where I once belonged.